I'm discussing a topic around mastering your inner game as it relates to keyword marketing research and developing a content marketing strategy in general. That's kind of weird, right? How can that possibly be related? Keyword research, content marketing, and mastering my inner game? I mean, really? Well, so let's do a little recap from last week, and then I will connect the dots for you. Last week, I covered that the number one thing most small business owners and solopreneurs miss entirely from their online marketing and web development and content development efforts is keyword marketing research. And since 2009, I've been helping people with website design and search engine optimization, and I realized that everyone who has come to me needs to be aware that keyword research is essential to anyone's online content. Hello. Google has a huge database of information that's easily accessible through keyword research tools. Understanding your market from a search point of view is reasonable and rational before diving into any content development, especially your website and lead magnets. There's more than enough time and money wasted on these two endeavors to warrant how significant keyword research in developing a content marketing strategy can be. And this is the type of service you would receive from SEO and SEM agencies, which is search engine optimization and search engine marketing, which is what I do as well, except that I think I get more intentional about getting you involved in the process and the strategy so that you get connected energetically to your target audience. And I don't think most SEO, SEM agencies do this. They're more kind of linear minded, and I'm more non-linear minded based on my own experience and my teaching and my understanding of consciousness. It's a different understanding and approach to helping you get conscious instead of handing it off to someone else and perhaps inadvertently giving away your own power in the process. This is a whole other topic I'm not going to get into today. I just wanted you to ponder the possibility. Now, before I get into the meat of today's topic, my name is Liz Garcia. I am your happy, insightful, and perceptive host of AthenaArenaRadio.com. Welcome to episode 6 of the Athena Arena podcast, which is the content and digital marketing strategy academy for aspiring 6, 7, and 8-figure, what I call Wonder Woman brands, and mastering your inner game. And you brilliant men out there, don't be fooled by the whole Wonder Woman thing. This is meant for you too. So if you missed last week's episode, I highly recommend you listen to that one first, which is episode 5. So back to how does episode 5, keyword marketing research, relate to mastering your inner game? It's kind of a weird thing to put side by side. What it really involves is getting conscious of your own ideal client and customer's needs and intentionally connecting energetically to your market. So before I get much further, I want to emphasize the significance of intention. And you're going to be reminded of intention throughout all of my Mastering Your Inner Game episodes because it's so significant in consciousness and your alignment with what you want to create, who you want to be or become, and who you want to serve. And as an example, intention has been a significant driver in Oprah Winfrey's success, which she describes in a conversation she had with Gary Zukov on YouTube. And you could probably Google that and find it. But if not, I'll provide the link to that in the show notes below. And you also may have heard of Dr. Wayne Dyer, who wrote probably hundreds, I don't know how many books he's written, tons of spiritually minded, spiritual growth and personal development books throughout my whole lifetime until he passed. He's probably been passed maybe 10 years or so now. But the one book that really stands out was called The Power of Intention. It was a bestseller. I bought the book. I don't remember really connecting with it that closely at the time because I think I was in my 20s or so, and I wasn't quite on the whole get conscious bandwagon yet. But he wrote about this way before its time. He wrote about the power of intention way before its time. But it clearly worked for him in his life and for Oprah. This is evidence of the power of intention. And Oprah was highly disciplined about applying intention to every episode of her show and how she did it. She explains that in that video with her and Gary, I believe. And there's a great metaphor in that video about connecting to the mothership. Like when you set intention for something, like a heartfelt intent, you're connecting with the mothership. And I want you to go watch that because it's a great visual and you'll really start to energetically integrate the message there, as I'm intending for you to do today as well. I want you, there's more to you than just thinking. Energetically, you're connecting with something, and when you intend to do so, there's more power in it to get what you want, really, which we're going to talk about that in a second. So if you were to choose, this is a huge tip you want to take to the bank. This is a huge growth hack in consciousness. And this is what I suggest. If you were to choose any one thing and stay committed to it, I would highly recommend you stick with the power of setting intention. It's a power play in consciousness, and I talk about it a lot in my other podcast, Your Weekly Dose of Higher Consciousness. It's huge. So if the word consciousness has got you drifting out of listening right now, I want you to come back in. Like, put down distractions. Hopefully you're in the car or running where there are no distractions, unless a hottie runs by and you got to chase him or her, or a cute puppy. Either one, I understand. But I know when I first had someone want to talk about consciousness with me, I immediately wanted to roll my eyes back into my head and exit stage left. It was like I became a deer in the headlight. What? Like, what? What do you, what? Like, I got to get out of here. I get it if you had the same reaction. It's not that big of a deal. We're going to break it down. So let me make it a little easier and more interesting to understand. What is consciousness, first of all, and how the hell do you spell it? I still misspell it, and I've been working with consciousness and studying it for decades. So consciousness is just the energy that fuels all of life. Look at it like electricity or gas in your car. It's the energy that fuels all of life. Without it, there'd be no existence, and all that we've come to know and love about our world and life, right? Wouldn't exist without consciousness, the energy that fuels all of it. And interestingly, all levels of consciousness can be measured as to their inherent truth and power. And the consciousness of our planet is vast. Never mind the universe. The consciousness of our planet alone, it's huge. And we have tons of choices here. And all of the choices we can make, which is called free will, can be measured as to its level of consciousness. Whatever you want to put your attention on is a field of impersonal attractor field of consciousness that you can choose. This is what I understand free will to be, really. We have this planet with a vast selection of choices, some on the high end, some are lower consciousness. You can choose any of them, but I'm here to help you understand making higher consciousness choices is what I'd recommend. So let me give you a simple example we can all relate to in regards to consciousness and energy fields. What does it look like? What am I talking about? And you know who Susie Sunshine is. You can't miss her. You can see a positive energy that she emits. That energy is measurable and has been measured in consciousness research. And I did a whole episode in Your Weekly Dose of Higher Consciousness about the movie Legally Blonde. And Reese Witherspoon was the lead character. Her name was Elle Wood. She, my God, is Susie Sunshine. She is of significantly higher consciousness. And when you pay attention to the movie, and you can see that things tend to work out for her. I mean, she has some setbacks, but her attitude and her confidence and her positive love for everybody really blazes a trail of what success can look like in anybody, right? You don't have to be Susie Sunshine. You can just be of higher consciousness in a different way because the map is vast. The energy of Susie Sunshine is measurable and has been measured in consciousness research. And then what about Debbie Downer? You know what this looks like, right? It's like that Eeyore character from Winnie the Pooh, the little mule, that literally has a gray cloud hanging over his head all the time. Everything out of his mouth is a downer. Life is grim for Eeyore. Or even Pigpen from Charlie Brown. You know, his energy field's different, but you can clearly see what's going on energetically. His physical surroundings are a mess, which is an indication of what's going on the inside, right? The outside is simply an expression of what's going on the inside, whether you want to believe it or not. You might have to unravel how that is so, but eventually you could get to it. So, whereas Susie Sunshine, she's Tigger, the Tigger character from Winnie the Pooh, which, by the way, I love Tigger, and my mother gave me Tigger when I was a kid. She made all of us a Winnie the Pooh character, and I got Tigger. And I asked some young friends of mine, I'm like, which character do you think I got as a young child? I got a little stuffed animal. And both of them said, Tigger! And I'm like, oh, thanks, girls. So, in any event, there's a huge difference between Susie Sunshine and Debbie Downer and Eeyore and Tigger. Big difference in energy. So the energy fields of all of these characters are measurable, as are yours and mine. As is everything that ever was in our vast history on this planet and is currently. Everything that ever was and is, including thoughts, foods, diets, exercises, all have their own measurable level of consciousness and energy. And to put this into context based on research, on consciousness research, Susie Sunshine and Tigger calibrate above 200 on the map of consciousness, and Debbie Downer and Eeyore calibrate below 200 on the map. These are just basic, anything above. So I don't want to go too deep into the map because I'll address it in upcoming episodes, but I just want to give you numbers. And these numbers are logarithmic, so you know they're 10 to the 200th power, which is huge when you start to go up the map. Like 10 to the 300th power is a quantum leap above 200. 10 to the 400th power is another quantum leap, and it just gets massive as you go up the map. So I just wanted to kind of interject this because we're going to talk about it a lot in Mastering Your Inner Game episodes. But I do want to mention that intention is a superpower in consciousness at 310 on the map. That's 10 to the 310th power. And I want you to use it to your advantage, right? Be an opportunist here, which is low buy, but not really. It's being intelligent to use high energy attractor fields to your advantage, like intention. And to really hit home the power of intention, 2 weeks from now, I will do a Mastering Your Inner Game episode about intention versus what you want. There's a big difference, and you're going to want to listen into that one. So that will be in 2 weeks. So let's get back to how keyword research relates to mastering your inner game. There's something going on in consciousness and your own awareness when you take the intentional step to really understand what your target audience is looking for and how they're searching for it. It's significant to set the intention before you do the research. And again, this research is easy. There's tons, I've been doing it for a long time, so it's easy for me. But I don't want you to to leave me thinking, oh, I can't do that. That's for, math types, blah, blah, blah. It's not. Keyword research tools are pretty simple, and I like to recommend Uber Suggest. That's a good one. It has a great user interface. There's tons of functionality there, and there is a free version you could use just to see what it's like and get some information. And I would even recommend, getting 1 month subscription, because you can get all you need to know in a month to do a little keyword research. But what I'm saying is you set the intent before you do it. And let me tell you why. When you set the intent to do the research, you're inviting in the higher consciousness energy attractor field that is intention to participate and guide you in this effort. Now, this isn't some woo-woo thing I'm talking about. This is an impersonal energy field that exists in consciousness for all of us, right? This is free will. You can choose it or not. That serves the highest good because it is higher consciousness, and it will be that which it is, which sounds, it's a little like, I am what I am is kind of a high-level God thing. If you're a spiritual aspirant, you've heard about I am what I am. And intentionality is what it is. It's not blended in with anything else. It just is what it is. It's of higher consciousness. So you're not doing anything here, really. You're just going along with the river and the stream of conscious intent. So you are participating in the doing of the keyword research, but when you invite in this high energy attractor field of intention, higher consciousness is going to step in and kind of guide you subtly. This is not an individual. This is an energy field that does what it does. So Dr. David R. Hawkins, who developed the map of consciousness, which I speak of often here, over decades of consciousness research has recommended simply finessing the energy fields by intending to become or align with it. This is what I'm asking you to do. This is an impersonal energy field that is powerful and will help you get what you want, essentially, right? So I'll share Dr. Hawkins' book. His most famous book is Power versus Force, which is very high-level stuff, difficult to understand because it's coming from a genius-level scientific type of scholar. And I do recommend The Map of Consciousness Explained. It's an easier read, but still significant. It's going to shift you in big ways just by touching the darn thing. It's emitting such a high frequency level of truth and power. So let's get back to keyword research and developing a strategy. You're going to want to set your intent for this process, which is, I do this when I work with people. I do it all the time. I'll tell you about that in a second. The high-powered energy field of intent is now invited in like a magnet to your efforts. You don't have to be an experienced keyword marketing research or content strategist to align with what you need to know about your market and how to serve them. You're going to be subtly guided, and you're going to feel like you're doing it, and the ego is going to take, credit for it, which is fine. Let it. It doesn't matter, because you're still benefiting from the alignment with the high energy attractor field. Now, I've been operating from this understanding for years. And I'm willing to accept that I'm not the best website designer, digital marketer, content writer, all of that stuff. But I am aware that I can access the field of excellence in regards to marketing and design. I know it. I'm a student of consciousness. There's no barrier in the sea of consciousness that we are, all of us. There's no barrier whatsoever, right? We have access to all of it, just by intending to have access to it. So I personally intend from the get-go of any project to serve the highest good of my client. Like, that's my first intent. And this is a great growth hack right here. When you intend to serve the highest good, it's huge in consciousness. And you can feel the energetic shift when you have this intent, because now you're shifting into this high-level energy field of integrity, which is of service to others. It's huge. And others are going to feel that coming from you as being You've got integrity. I trust you. You're genuine. You're powerful. That's what people are going to feel in the subconscious, unconscious, right? There's no when you intend for the highest good, you shift out of that self-serving ego, lower mind part of you. You can feel it, and you want to go with it. That's a good one to go with. So I set this intent, and then I get the hell out of my way and let the projects come together, right? I do have some good skills for sure, and I have tons of experience having been a business owner since my 20s, right, in a lot of different businesses. But I'm not the best in the digital marketing realm, but things tend to pan out pretty darn well when I set this intent. And I just get out of my way and I let it come together, and sometimes I'm not sure of the direction, which is interesting. But it turns out to be a success beyond my client's expectations every time. I'm not embellishing here. This is the fact. So I wanted to share a quick story about this. A woman came to me who helps create mini video productions, like puts together pictures into like a fun little film for families. And I wasn't sure. We're going with kind of like a cartoony like website, meaning that we did she had a cartoon graphic of herself, and I loved that direction she was going. We wanted to make it light and fun and colorful and that type of thing. And I wasn't sure of the direction. And I just went along, I went with the flow of it, like creating these images and graphics for the website and the colors. And I wasn't sure, but I'm like, you know what, this is where I'm headed. So I just went with it without second guessing too much. And then when I put together the first put together like a mood board for the client, she was thrilled. And then when the whole website came together and was complete and I showed it to her, she literally called me crying. She jumped up and down, hugging her husband. She's like, "Oh my God, Liz so gets me. This is so beautiful. I love this." I get responses like that, and I personally don't take credit for it because I understand. I'm like, I'll take a little credit for it because I helped to bring it, materialize it. But I knew that aligning with my intent to serve the highest good of the client and to get the hell out of my own way and allow the river of consciousness that's available to all of us in this particular field. I called it a particular field of intention and, excellence in marketing and web design. This was the result I got, like a resounding, like, "Oh my God," crying, "Thank you, Lord," above, It was so funny. She was so friggin' appreciative. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And this is like another thing. When something shows up like that, you're like, "Thank you, God." I'm like, "Whoa, I'm so grateful for that." Or "Thank you, higher consciousness," or, attractor field of excellence in marketing and web design for showing up for me, right? And it's not a person or individual. It's just the energy of it. The energy of that you call in, and and you may have doubt about it and think it's like goofy, but when you start to apply it and it starts to show up, you're like, "Oh, well, I'm going to go with it." So when you decide you're going to get clear about what your target audience needs and how you can serve the highest good, you've just accessed higher consciousness to guide you on this. Like, all it is knows what people need, right? They know. It's like, okay, we have a high demand for this and we don't have enough practitioners to help. So I'm going to guide you this way. Or you're going to think you're going to want to go in direction, and higher consciousness is like, well, there's an okay high demand for this. Well, or let's put it this way. There's a high demand for this, but we have too many practitioners. Let me send you somewhere else where you're needed. That's kind of like, this is how I imagine it. And typically, when I intend to speak the truth and help others, it comes through me. So this is an interesting thing that's coming out of me right now. It's not scripted. And the same thing is like, okay, I'm going to guide you to this keyword research and you're gonna follow this trail, and there's going to be high search volume, good financial viability, and low competition because no one's addressing it. And this is what consciousness might be just saying, like, hey, you know what? You're needed, or somebody's needed over here. I'm going to guide you there, and then you can decide what you want to do with it. Take it or leave it. So anyway, that's kind of how I look at it, and this is how it just came to me now to share with you. It's kind of interesting to consider what I just said. So if you want to talk about really upping your game, this is mastering your inner game, right? It's letting go of the lower mind and the ego, which is predominant in our world and in all of us, and using this process of intention. This is what is a growth hack to employ, as opposed, see all these, it's funny, the term bro marketers has come up. There's all these, men marketing that, they're showing you their airplane and their Ferrari. It's called bro marketing. I got that phrase from Amy Porterfield, who's another brilliant marketer. I'm taking one of her courses. She's awesome. But growth hack is kind of a male type of thing. Like, I'm going to growth hack this, and how do you get growth hack that? Well, this is a growth hack for all you females out there that are kind of more heart-centered and don't need to go with the yang of the male-oriented world, business world, and go with the yin, which is they're both superpower. This is not to disparage anything, but this is just a kind of a easier thing for women to accept, right? Though it's super powerful for men and women to understand it. And guess what? It doesn't take much effort to set an intention, and it costs you nothing, right? You have access to the power of the universe right here and now in whatever field you want. So keyword marketing research is a reasonable and rational thing to do. And reason and rationality calibrates in the 400s on the map. That's 10 to the 400th power. It's a huge leap in consciousness from intention, which is at 310, right? Intention's still a superpower, but to then step aside and say, you know what, I need to be reasonable and rational about my business. This is one way to do that. And just to put these levels into greater context, all right, I want to put everything into the context of the map. What's the map? What's the scale? So approximately 80% of the planet calibrates below 200. The map of consciousness is vast. It's a logarithmic scale of 0 to 1,000, where anything over 200 is upward pulling, positive aspect oriented, holds significant truth and power, and is constructive. Anything that calibrates below 200 on the map is downward pulling, negatively oriented, holds no truth, and is destructive and holds no power, which that's a whole other topic, but I'm just putting out there for you at the moment. So it's a little discouraging to understand that the planet is predominantly negatively oriented. So the United States is only about 50%, so we're like 50-50 in the United States. So just assume that you're listening to this, that you tend towards higher consciousness, but maybe you're not or you would like to be of higher consciousness, and you're just understanding where you got to put your attention to master your inner game. So there's very few people in the world above 500 on the map, just so you know. Jesus Christ, the Buddha, and Dr. David R. Harkins were 1,000 on the map. Understanding their enlightened levels is beyond the scope of this topic. I've had experiences with levels in the 700s, which is extremely rare, and how I came into understanding consciousness and wanting to share it with others because it's so important to understand and should be required teachings right from the get-go. Let's be taught as kids where to put our power and attention, why it matters, and then it's up to you to decide what you want to give your attention to. If you want to be bitter and angry, then, have at it. But here's the consequence of doing that when you understand the levels. Like, you're putting your attention on a low energy attractor field that you're going to attract more of that bitterness and anger into your life, which is destructive and negatively oriented, and it's going to affect all areas of your life and not going to be quite what you'd hoped for, maybe. So that's it for today's episode of Mastering Your Inner Game, and why setting intention for all that you do and who you want to be is a huge growth hack in your life. Finesse the fields you need, like I have done with web design and marketing, and go with the flow of higher consciousness you have just invited in. You got to go with the flow of it. Let go of resistance and allow this to step in. And it may take a little while for you to it takes practice. It can be subtle or really obvious. And I'm sure life is let me show you some obvious results that you can wake up and say, oh, okay. But you do need to pay attention and give thanks and recognition when something shows up. When you set the intent and it shows up, you're don't dismiss it. Say, whoa, look at that. That's what I do. I'm oh, hey, thanks. It reinforces your alignment with these higher energy attractor fields. So, and if something does show up, let me know and share it in the comments below wherever you're listening to this podcast, or if you're on my blog, you can share it there. Because this is how we ripple it out into the world and raise not only our own level of consciousness, but everyone's else. It's like a testimonial to life. It's oh, this worked for me. People need to know it, right? If you like what's going on here, please share it with friends, family, and business associates. And if you're really ready for understanding where genuine power and truth exist in consciousness, I encourage you to check out my podcast called Your Weekly Dose of Higher Consciousness that you can find at highvibetriberadio.com. Next week, I want you to stay tuned as I'm going to dive into issue number 2 that most small business owners and solopreneurs entirely miss in not only their online marketing efforts, but business development efforts in general. I'll see you then.